Efforts to enhance Orang Asli education remain high on government agenda. New EXCO members sworn in before Johor Sultan. Good evening. Efforts to improve the level of education amongst Orang Asli students remains high on government agenda. Now, Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad today said these efforts should be intensified with the cooperation of various parties through the provision of more education infrastructure and the inculcation of awareness through campaigns on the importance of education. Speaking at the opening of the National Orang Asli Convention 2019 at the Putrajaya International Convention Centre, Tun Dr. Mahathir asked Orang Asli leaders to come forth and voice their views on the government in a bid to ensure that all the issues they face are clearly understood.
Pembabitan semua pihak yang mempunyai kepentingan dan keprihatinan dalam isu ini, terutamanya masyarakat orang asli yang diwakili oleh Batin dan Penghulu, adalah secara langsung memberi kita peluang membincang perkara yang mungkin dahulu kita ketepikan kerana agak sulit dan kompleks. Apabila kita dapat berbincang secara terbuka dan teratur, keputusan yang dicapai pasti mendapat penerimaan yang lebih baik.
In addition, the Premier said there are now 1,090 Orang Asli studying in various courses at public institutions of higher learning or IPAS, apart from those who are pursuing their studies overseas at the degree master's and doctorate levels. He said these figures signal to the government that the Orang Asli community is aware of the importance of education. Tun Dr. Mahathir also said that every work initiative and development effort being implemented and to be implemented by the government to develop the Orang Asli community is in line with the human rights-based approach. Three new faces are amongst the 10 Johor State Executive Council or EXCO members who were sworn in before the Sultan of Johor, Sultan Ibrahim Almarhum Sultan Iskandar at Istana Bukit Serene today. The new EXCO members are Bukit Permai State Assemblyman Tosrin Jarvanti, Tenang State Assemblyman Muhammad Sulihan Badri and Jermentah State Assemblyman Tan Chen Chun. Now, during the swearing-in ceremony at the audience room, 7 other EXCO members who were reappointed also took their oath of office. They are Parit Yaani Assemblyman Aminul Huda Hassan, Kota Iskandar Assemblyman Zulkifli Ahmad, Bukit Batu Assemblyman Jimmy Pua Wisi, Bekok Assemblyman Dr. S. Ramakrishnan, Semerah Assemblyman Muhammad Khuzan Abu Bakar, Palo Assemblyman Sheikh Umar Bagarib Ali and Johor Jaya Assemblyman Liao Chai Tung. The EXCO appointments were made following the appointment of Dato' Dr. Shahrudin Jamal as Johor Menteri Besar on the 14th of April to replace Dato' Osman Sapian, who resigned after 11 months on the job. Skudai Assemblyman Tan Hong Pin and Putri Wangsa Assemblyman Mazlan Bujang were dropped and EXCO members in the reshuffle. Tan was the Local Government Science and Technology Committee Chairman, while Mazlan was in charge of the Works, Infrastructure and Transport portfolio. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riyatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah has strongly condemned the multiple explosions across Sri Lanka on Easter Sunday yesterday, which have claimed nearly 300 lives. His Majesty expressed shock over the incident and is also profoundly saddened by the devastating loss of life and injuries. Istana Negara, in a statement issued by the controller of the royal household, Dato' Ahmad Fadil Shamsuddin, said that the king expresses his deepest condolences and utmost sympathy for the victims of this senseless and barbaric crime, that innocent people were targeted during Easter when they gathered in prayer and celebration. His Majesty also conveyed Malaysia's support and solidarity to the victims, their families and the people of Sri Lanka. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong truly believes that the humanity and strength of the Sri Lankan people will prevail and preserve in the face of this horrific tragedy. Wisma Putra, the Foreign Ministry, said in a statement yesterday that no Malaysian was reportedly affected by the explosions. More police personnel will be assigned at religious centres to avoid unwanted incidents. Deputy Home Minister Dato Muhammad Aziz Jaman says the step is taken following the bomb blast incident in Sri Lanka yesterday.
Pada tentang perkara-perkara ini dan kita telah minta lah agar langkah berjaga-jaga itu daripada dulu lagi. Sejak berlakunya di Christchurch, kita telah minta PDRM untuk mengawasi rumah-rumah ibadat ini agar ianya tidak berlaku dan menular di negara kita.
The Deputy Home Minister said the police view these incidents seriously and they are always keeping a lookout for any terrorist-related activities in the country. The powerful blasts, 6 in quick succession and then 2 hours later left hundreds killed and injured, brought devastation including at the capital's well-known St. Anthony's Shrine, a historic Catholic church. The death toll in a series of 8 blasts targeting mostly churches and hotels in Sri Lanka on Sunday has risen to 290. A police spokesman said more than 500 people were injured in the Easter Sunday assault that saw suicide bombers hit 3 high-end hotels popular with foreign tourists and 3 churches, unleashing carnage in Colombo and beyond. Now, meanwhile, Sri Lanka police have announced new arrests over the country's worst attacks for more than a decade. The attacks were the worst ever carried out against Sri Lanka's small Christian minority, who make up only just 7% of the 21 million population. The Foreign Ministry said at least 37 foreigners were amongst the dead. The government said 3 Indians, 3 Britons, 2 from Turkey and 1 Portuguese had died, as well as 2 people holding both British and US passports. Japan's foreign ministry said one of its nationals was amongst the dead. Some Sri Lankans asked how the attacks could have happened after it emerged that the government had been warned about the possible blasts. Sri Lanka's police chief, Pujuth Jayasundara, issued an intelligence alert to top officials on April the 11th, warning that suicide bombers from a group called National Dhowidaj Jamaat planned to hit the prominent churches. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe said an investigation would look into why adequate precautions were not taken. The Prisons Department is preparing for a prison reform that would involve improvements in every aspect of prison management. Home Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin today said the prison management reform encompasses the areas of detention, rehabilitation, staff training, compliance with regulations, facilities, community correction, and inmate reintegration into society. In terms of correction facilities, Tan Sri Muhyiddin said his ministry will continue to do its best in providing the Malaysian Prisons Department with complete and appropriate infrastructure such as rehabilitation centres, security and health facilities equipped with the latest technology. He said this after officiating the Intelligence Smart Prison Forum held at the Kajang prison today. Also present were Home Minister's Secretary General Dato Sri Alwi Ibrahim and Prisons Director General Dato Sri Zulkifli Omar. Tan Sri Muhyiddin said that on the aspect of reintegration, the Prisons Department will ensure that the modules to reintegrate the inmates into the community are effectively implemented. On the forum, he said he provided opportunities for the Prisons Department to review its prison management and operations from the perspective of 5 developed countries, including China, Japan and the United Kingdom. He said that the effectiveness of smart prisons goes beyond technology that requires a strategy that incorporates continuous research and response to address the practical issues associated with its implementation. The Kuala Lumpur High Court today prohibited any parties from uploading and sharing any recordings of Datuk Sri Najib Tun Razak's ongoing trial involving SRC International Sdn Bhd funds on social media. Judge Muhammad Nazlan Muhammad Ghazali said that the court recording and transcription, or CRT, was for the court's use and not for public consumption. Judge Muhammad Nazlan said any form of recording is not permitted, not only live streaming, and this includes the CRT. The CRT is supplied on the express purpose of transcribing and not to upload. The judge made the ruling following the prosecution's application for a court order to prohibit third parties from uploading the CRT without permission. At the outset, ad hoc prosecutor Dato' V. Sitabaram told the court that the CRT video was uploaded into social media Facebook last week. The Dato' pointed out that CRT footage could only be obtained by signing an undertaking not to forward the copy to other parties for upload onto any medium. He said the public and social media users should also be warned not to upload without permission from the court. That could affect the integrity of the court. He hoped for a court order barring 3 parties from uploading the CRT without permission. Three civil servants, including a female Kedah Public Works Department senior civil engineer along with a contractor, were remanded for 7 days to facilitate a probe into a case involving false claims. Alor Star Magistrates Court Assistant Registrar Nur Liana Abdul Rahim granted the remand order starting today against the engineer 50, a financial administrative assistant 46 and a skill assistant 34. The court also granted the remand order against the 37-year-old contractor of a company. It is understood that the 4 suspects were arrested after they had given their statements at the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission or MACC office in Alor Star between 6 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. yesterday. They were arrested on suspicion of making false claims worth 19,950 ringgit and 6,806 ringgit in relation to a training course on the air conditioning and mechanical ventilation installation. The claims were allegedly committed between May and October of last year. The project, however, was never carried out. Meanwhile, Kedah MACC Director Dato' Shaharum Nizam Abdul Manap confirmed that the arrests were to enable the probe to be conducted under Section 18 of the MACC Act 2009. A senior citizen who suffered serious injuries on the head after he fell down while climbing Gunung Korbu in Ipoh yesterday has died. The deceased, Lee Kian Sing, 60, passed away after he was flown off the scene of the accident in a fire and rescue department helicopter. The Perak Fire and Rescue Department spokesman said the victim's body has since been handed over to the police for further action. In yesterday's incident, the victim, together with 12 other climbers, were on a mountain climbing expedition before he slipped and fell 6 meters down and passed out. Realizing it would take at least 12 hours to climb up the mountain, the rescue team had to rely on assistance from its air unit in order to reach the accident site as fast as possible. The search and rescue operation was concluded at 10 this morning. Welcome back. Housemen will now work fewer hours under a new policy that promises to address the issue of them being overworked. Health Minister Dato' Sri Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad says housemen will no longer be allowed to work more than 14 hours at a stretch, and no one will be allowed to work double shifts on the same day. Dato' Sri Dr. Zulkifli said the new guidelines was in the interest of safety for both housemen and the patients. The guideline, which will be implemented in stages, was disseminated to all government hospitals with a housemanship program early this year. Apart from barring housemen from working more than 14 hours without rest, their work hours will also be reduced from 65 to 75 hours per week to 60 to 62 hours a week. The Health Minister said the daily work hours for these newly qualified doctors would be standardized to just 3 flexible timings: morning, evening and night. The rule applies only to new doctors in the 9 disciplines where housemanship is compulsory. The new policy comes shortly after it was reported that many housemen were being asked to work up to 18 hours a day with no overtime pay. To make matters worse, they were getting only 1 day off each week. The government is still mulling whether to install additional automated enforcement systems or AES cameras, especially in high-risk and accident-prone areas. Deputy Transport Minister Dato' Kamaruddin Jaafar says so far more than 163,000 summonses were issued from the 1st of September of 2018 until mid-April this year, and hence the need to consider installing more AES cameras.
Dalam peringkat kajian dan penentuan, semula lokasi bagi membuat penambahbaikan dengan mengemaskini kawasan kerap kemalangan berasaskan data-data terkini. Walau bagaimanapun penambahan kamera ini akan dilaksanakan dan kos pemasangan dan operasi kamera hanya akan ditentukan semasa pemasangan kamera tersebut dilakukan. Bermula dari 1 September 2018 hingga 17 April 2019, sebanyak 163,986 saman telah dikeluarkan dan hasil daripada saman-saman ini memperolehi kutipan kepada kerajaan sebanyak RM5,726,400.
In his reply to Senator Dato' Razali Idris at the Dewan Rakyat, Dato' Kamarudin said the implementation of the AES was not meant to punish but to create awareness amongst road users as part of efforts to reduce road accidents. The Perak government is negotiating with the Finance Ministry on the list of items that will be excluded from taxes once Pangkor Island is gazetted as duty-free. Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Ahmad Faizal Azumus said that the island's duty-free designation should not affect its position as a family-friendly tourist spot.
Proses pewartaan Pulau Bebas Cukai Pangkor sedang dalam tindakan Kementerian Kewangan untuk meminda Akta Kastam 1967, Akta Excise 1976, Akta Cukai Jualan 2018, Akta Cukai Perkhidmatan 2018 dan Akta Zon Bebas 1990 serta semua perundangan subsidiari yang terlibat.
Dato' Sri Ahmad Faizal, who is also Cenderang Assemblyman, was responding to a supplementary question from Pangkor Assemblyman Dato' Sri Zamri Kadir, who requested the list of items that would be tax-free. He added that items like liquor and cigarettes should not be included in the tax-free list. Sultan of Perak, Sultan Nazrin Muizuddin Shah, had during the opening of the second session of the 14th Perak Assembly at the State Secretariat Building announced that Pangkor Island would get its duty-free status on January the 1st of next year. The Sultan said the state government had submitted an application to gazette the island as duty-free. An Urban Transformation Centre, or UTC, will be opened in Komta in the heart of Georgetown, Pulau Pinang, soon. Now, Chief Minister Chow Kon Yeow said the federal government is now looking at space requirements and financing for the renovations at Komta that is also home to the State Administrative Centre. According to Chow, the federal government finally selected Komta to set up a UTC after considering several locations. However, it was not finalized yet because no agreement has been signed.
We welcome this initiative in Komta, and it will bring in the crowd to Komta to have business with the government agency that set up their booth at the place.
He said this during a press conference at the anniversary celebration of Penang Development Corporation, or PDC, today. The centre in Komta will be the 23rd UTC in the country. And that item concludes this evening's edition of News on 2. In our top story, efforts to enhance Orang Asli education remain high on the government's agenda. Join us again at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon for more news updates. I'm Adrian Seat. Thanks for watching.